Hiya! Welcome to Biomed Sessions with me, Ruse. Today we're going to be discussing the Loop of Henle and the way it helps to concentrate urine in the kidneys. The Loop of Henle is found between the proximal convoluted tubule and the distal convoluted tubule in the nephron. There are actually two types of nephron in the kidney, cortical and juxtamedullary. This happens to be a juxtamedullary nephron because of its long loop of Henle and the fact that it dips down into the medulla of the kidney. This type is well suited to the role of helping to concentrate urine. As discussed in my function of the nephron video, filtrate moves through the tubules and eventually exits the collecting duct as urine. But what we want to know is, why does the concentration of filtrate increase as you go further down the loop of Henle? Osmolarity is the concentration of a solution, often expressed as milliosmoles per litre. Filtrate in the proximal convoluted tubule has an osmolarity of 300 milliosmoles per litre, the same as the surrounding interstitial fluid. This means that the filtrate is isoosmotic with its surroundings, but it's a very different story in the loop of Henle. Let's zoom in. Let me give you a brief recap of what happens here. But if you want more details, including information about permeability, do go back and watch my previous video. Okay, so in the thick ascending limb, sodium ions are pumped out and negative ions such as chloride follow, making the medulla a quite concentrated and salty region. Water leaves passively from the thin descending limb because of the surrounding salty environment, and as the water leaves, the filtrate in the descending limb becomes significantly more concentrated. In addition, the salty medulla is also a major reason why water is able to move passively out of the collecting duct and be reabsorbed back into the blood, thus leaving behind more concentrated urine. But let's pretend that the filtrate is entering the loop of Henle for the very first time. Naturally, because the filtrate is coming from the proximal convoluted tubule, it will have the same 300 milliosmoles per litre osmolarity and be isoosmotic with the interstitial fluid. However, this situation is not ideal for creating concentrated urine. So in the latter part of the loop of Henle, our aim is to create a difference of 200 milliosmoles per litre between the ascending limb and the interstitial fluid. The only way to do this is by pumping out sodium ions. So let's pump. As you can see, the osmolarity in the ascending limb has decreased due to a loss of sodium, whereas in the interstitial fluid it has increased due to a gain in sodium. And if you look closely at the values, you will see that we have achieved the 200 milliosmol per litre difference, otherwise known as a gradient. But what's happening with the descending limb? Here the filtrate needs to equilibrate, meaning that the water will leave passively until the filtrate in the descending limb reaches the same osmolarity as the interstitial fluid. Time to equilibrate. Note, equilibrating does not change the osmolarity of the interstitial fluid. Filtrate moves through the nephron continuously, but I'm going to break this down into steps for you. Let's advance the fluid in the loop of Henle. When brand new 300 milliosmol per litre filtrate enters the descending limb from the proximal convoluted tubule, the filtrate already in the loop of Henle is pushed further along. Bringing back our values for the interstitial fluid, we see that our gradient has been messed up. So we need to re-establish that ideal 200 milliosmol per litre difference. Let's pump out some sodium ions. Okay, although the values vary, there is still a difference of 200 at all levels, so we're content. Now to equilibrate the descending limb with the interstitial fluid and advance the fluid in the loop of Henle a little. Lo and behold, the gradient is messed up again, but we know what to do. Let's pump and establish that 200 milliosmol per litre gradient. Equilibrate to match osmolarities and advance the fluid. Okay, one more time to get the point across. Our gradient is messed up, pump out sodium to restore the gradient, and equilibrate. Alright, so looking at our values for the interstitial fluid, we can see that the osmolarity increases the deeper you go into the medulla. As all that pumping and equilibrating continues, we eventually reach a maximum concentration of around 1200 milliosmoles per litre. The entire process that I have just described is called countercurrent multiplication. Countercurrent, because the filtrate flows in opposite directions in the limbs of the loop of Henle, and multiplication, because this countercurrent flow enables the effects of the gradient to be increased, i.e. multiplied. So in summary, the loops of Henle of juxtamedullary nephrons are involved in the process of countercurrent multiplication, which enables the interstitial fluid to become more concentrated, i.e. increase in osmolarity the deeper you go into the medulla. The high concentrations in the medulla facilitate the passive movement of water out of the collecting duct and result in more concentrated urine. Okay, hopefully this tutorial was helpful to you. If so, don't forget to like and subscribe, and do drop by my Facebook page to get the latest updates on upcoming videos. All links will be left in the description. Okay, see you in another video. Bye!